All right, welcome to the newest series that I have decided to cobble together here. I've been told many, many times over the years that I should probably say something regarding all of the various stories I have. You know, get a bunch of them down on, digital paper, so to speak. Put them out there in video form so that everybody can hear and see them. I've told some of these stories on streams before. Some of these stories are maybe things I haven't necessarily said before, but more or less, every single one of them is as true as I can remember it. Every single one of these things are things that I experienced on 2B2T throughout the course of my life there. I do have almost 10 years of experiences and things saved up that I would happily share with you all now. So, sit back, relax, and let us see where I was exactly 10 years ago. As of this recording, November the 1st, 2013. Not 2023. I had to catch myself. Almost said 2023. But no, unironically, November 1st, 2013, I was on 2B2T. What was I doing? Oh boy. Well, shortly after the Halloween stuff had more or less, resolved, at this point in time, I had been separated from my now very famous base, known as the Lands. I won't say what what the name is short for, but this was a place that I had built on my own, and I had been separated from it for several months. Travel on the nether roof was impossible at that time, and so I was stuck living at a base called Valkyria. Very famous base, would come to be what I would use as inspiration for Space Valkyria, basically. It's even in the name. So, the next thing I did was, after Valkyria kind of fell apart, if you can believe it, somebody unironically invited Pop Bob to Valkyria. Yes, the famous Pop Bob. He got invited, everyone went, nope, I'm out. And the entire base was basically left abandoned overnight. Purely because Pop Bob showed up there. Very sad, sad affair. It had happened, let's see here. That was about almost a month. Or no, that was about 2.5 weeks earlier. About 2 weeks earlier, Pyrobite and I had been experimenting with getting horses on top of the nether roof. Little did we know, it would take Tristan backdooring 2B2T, which he backdoored 2B2T at that time, in order to use a horse on the nether roof for his own ends, which was getting to Imperator's base, or Viking base, the now famous Imp's base, as we called it. That was how he planned to get out there. He also used horse roof travel, and back before Tristan had backdoored the server at that time, in late October, getting a horse on the nether roof crashed the server. So this was an easy way to both circumvent a very abusable crash exploit and also just make it really easy for a handful of people to get around and go anywhere. Back in the day, before the nether roof was shut down, being able to get on the roof, which at first was something of a kind of sort of open secret, and then very quickly became public knowledge, being able to do that was so powerful simply because you could go anywhere. Nothing stopped you from being able to visit any base, to, go and establish your own base out in the millions like I did. There were, the world was your oyster. You had no real restrictions on you at that point, or so it seemed. And so, Housemaster complained that this grew the map data by gigabytes a day, and I'm probably not entirely sure he's wrong. I kind of have to agree with him. It probably did grow the server's size immensely. And so he basically wanted someone to shut down, write a plugin and shut down the nether roof. Well, that's more or less what had happened. So the nether roof had been gone for months by the time of the beginning of our story. So we ended up basically having to use horse travel secretly. We were not, sadly, as secret about it as I would have liked, but what can you do? So we ended up getting, successfully, horses on the nether roof. I brokered a deal with a now famous 2B2T player, Kino Rana. He ended up giving me horses in exchange for working on some of his stuff at his base. And I think we also got something else. I don't remember the exact details of what the transaction was. I just remember Kino was very upset because we were not able to fully finish the transaction, and also a bunch of my friends were dumbasses and did not fully cover up their tracks on their way to Kino's base to pick up the horses. And as a result, griefers found Kino's stash and ransacked it. Well, unfortunate as that is, we were at least able to secure our means of transport and to basically get ourselves safely all the way out to, I believe the coordinates were 555,000 blocks in the nether. It was -554, -555, or something like that. Really, really far. And this is where I had gone almost a year and a quarter earlier. And of course, I was desperate to return to my base, now known as the Lands. So, on Halloween, funny enough, about that time, we all arrived at the Lands, or it was the day before Halloween, according to my screenshots. And the people who followed me were Kino Rana, Zarviar, Snacky Norf, later on Brynillan, and even Tristan himself would eventually join and maneuver their way over there. Pyrobite was not interested, neither was Sato. They basically decided to run off and go do their own thing. 1.7 was just around the corner, so everybody wanted to go to New Chunks for 1.7 biomes, which I don't blame them. They were pretty cool for the time. So we decided, we'd amicably part ways. And for a while, that was it. And then the unthinkable was set up. Now, you've probably heard that famous copy pasta. And then the unthinkable happened. Pop Bob logged in for the first time in years and blah, 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 blah. Well, that happened in 2016. This was a full 3 years before that. But this is also, ironically, the setup to that very copy pasta. That would never have been possible had what happened next not occurred. The thing that happened was that because everybody fled from Valkyria the moment Pop Bob showed up there, he, of course, wandered around, poked his nose around to see what was where, who was doing what, and it was not too long afterward that he figured out by, just by looking. I guess he had an X-ray list or a block search list of some kind, some means of finding player-made blocks. And he found the horse machine, the machine that was to get horses on the nether roof. We made one near Valkyria because we had horses at Valkyria. Two of my friends took off from Valkyria. I showed them how to do it. And I distinctly remember riding to Kino Rana's base on the nether roof, and I said, hey, look, guys, last person out has to destroy the horse machine. Well, needless to say, that didn't happen. Somebody didn't destroy the horse machine. I don't remember who was the last person out of Valkyria, but it didn't happen, and it led to Pop Bob himself finding the machine and piecing two and two together. It was a very bizarre machine. If you didn't know how it worked, you might not even realize that it was a new machine, because for about a year, there were ways of getting onto the nether roof. There were like 5 or 6 ways. And one of them involved minecarts, specifically getting into a minecart, logging in and logging out, and then dismounting the minecart in, like, quick succession. I don't really remember. And I just remember if you did it correctly, and if you did it where the bedrock was thinnest, it would put you above the roof. And that was another common method of getting up there with, like, next to nothing. I remember boats were other another method. And so, if you didn't know about it, you might just think, oh, well, that must be an old minecart contraption to get people on the nether roof way back when. It's useless now, right? Right? Well, Pop Bob is not stupid. Say what you will about him. He was always a very clever, very smart individual, and you could never fully be certain what Pop Bob did or didn't have up his sleeve. And so Pop Bob quickly, as I said, pieced 2 and 2 together and made the quick realization. I'm pretty sure Pyrobite had been talking to him, but I can't really know for sure. Or Tristan was, because I know Tristan and Pop Bob were in close contact by that point. They were either already friends or they were about to be friends. You can also begin to see a lot of the Nerds Inc., framework being laid in this time. And yeah, it was someone either let the cat out of the bag or he was more or less plenty capable of figuring it out on his own. There were, after all, very large YouTube videos on, popular sites and channels that showed off getting horses on the nether roof. Horses were brand new. Everyone was using them. They were really cool. And yeah, you better believe, horse maneuvers and horse travel was always on the minds of all the big hackers at that time, simply because, when a new feature is added to the game, anyone worth their salt will immediately think, well, how do I use this? How do I abuse this? What exploits are possible with this because Mojang is stupid? What things can I do to make this worth my while? That kind of thing. So, of course, it really was not that hard to piece 2 and 2 together at that time. And sadly, that was the end of it. Pop Bob very quickly figured out what to do. He got a horse, and he rode off for the lands. And less than a week later, after we had already begun settling in at about Halloween, on November 1st, 2013, I was grinding in a zombie grinder, getting XP, refining my iron farms that I had there at the lands. Iron farming was beginning to become a very big, very booming sort of, I don't want to say industry, but like iron farm designs were beginning to really get complicated on the likes of YouTube. Anyone who has seen the channel Tango Tech will remember the Iron Trench. This was when a lot of that type of stuff was being, pioneered back in those days. And, well, basically the days consisted of us having access to the now very famous spawn teleport hack, us living at the lands for about a week or so, thinking we're safe, and then finally Pop Bob arrives and ransacks the stash that I had made during the 1.5 minecart dupe, and basically making his presence known. You're not safe anywhere you go. And I'll never forget what Pop Bob said to me shortly after this ended up happening. Quote, "Everybody pays the king's tax, one way or another." And sure enough, my payment was that he got to raid half of my stash. We were capable, thankfully, of finding him rather quickly, and so we got half the stash away from him. But the other half was compromised. He took a lot of XP bottles, some dragon eggs, some other junk. I don't really remember. I just remember that it was a huge wake-up call that we were not only not safe, Pop Bob not only existed at the lands in a place that we thought we were out of the way. We thought we were safe. Tristan said to us, because it basically came out that they had something, backdoory on the server by this time. And he basically said, hey, look, I'm not going to update the horse stuff for 1.7. So if you have any last minute places you want to go, horse roof now or forever hold your peace. And that's basically what happened. When 1.7 came, that was the end of it. We were unable to ride on the nether roof ever again. And in all honesty, I don't remember the nether roof opening up except for one more time by complete accident. But that is a story I shall recount when the time comes. After all, it is now the end, tail end roughly. It's already November 1st. I can't believe that. 2023. I mean, before you know it, it will be New Year's. I mean, that's only a month and some change away. Oh, no, it's about 2 months. 2 months away. So, like, yeah, before you know it, we will absolutely be in 2024. And 10 years from then will be 2014. And let me tell you, a lot of crap happened in 2014. And so, yeah, there are a lot of interesting little bits of things that happened here and there. I will happily, tell you all about those when we get to them. And so, lastly, no, I'll save this story for next week. Or no, when will next week be? Next week will be the 8th. Oh, it'll be 2 weeks from now. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to have a doozy of a story to tell you guys 2 weeks from now. But for now, I will leave you all with that. Good luck, good night, and goodbye.